I want questions that are more related to your scope. Okay, question 3 of the 2023 paper. It says here, Party X advertises the sale of his motor vehicle. The particulars of the vehicle are as follows: a white sedan, 70,000 mileage, 3.0 L engine, automatic transmission, petrol engine. After a week's negotiation, Party Y offered to purchase Party X car for 100,000. After a week negotiation, Party Y offered to purchase Party X car for 100,000. This offer was accepted by Party X and a contract was formed. Party Y paid the purchase price of 100,000 to Party X, but Party X failed to transfer the property to Party Y. Considering the fact that you are an expert in contract law, frustrated Party Y approaches you for your advice. So the first thing that we need to do here is identify the topic. So you can see here the topic, it's a breach of contract. Breach of contract. So the first thing to do is identify the topic, and the topic in this case is breach of contract. Question 3, breach of contract. So let's talk about the rules of the topic. What do we know about breach of contract? We know that it has requirements. Breach of contract requirements. So we start by defining what it is. It's when one party fails to do the obligations of the other party of the contract. Fails to meet the obligations of the contract. The requirements are as follows. We have first, there's a valid contract exists. Valid contract exists. That's number 1. Number 2, we have the defendant failed to perform, and then lastly the aggrieved party performed or is in a position to perform. And then you talk about these were laid out in the case of I don't know it in my head. I don't know the cases in my head. Let's go. It was laid out in which case? Come on. Breach of contract. Let's go. I know there's a case. I know there's a case. Green Consulting. This is Minister of Works and Transport. Remedies here. These requirements were laid out in this case. Now, the next thing, you're not done with that. You need to write everything that you know about that topic here. We usually start with the definition of the topic. You start with the requirements and then all other things. Remember, there are now it didn't specify. It didn't specify what exactly in terms of what type of breach is it. So we need to discuss all the types of breach here as well. We need to discuss all the types of breach here as well. You can say there are 4 types of breach of contract, which is mora, debitores, mora, creditores. You have repudiation, and and finally positive mal performance. Okay, these are the 4 types of breach. And now after you've stated that, it's a time where you discuss what mora debitoris, mora creditoris is, especially if you're not sure which one it is. But in this case, I'm sure that it's mora creditoris. It's mora creditoris. So I'm going to discuss mora creditoris in detail, where I talk about all the things that we have said. We said that it's when the person who is the receiving person, the debtor, the creditor is the one that fails to perform. So mora creditoris is here. Mora creditoris is here. The debtor fails to perform. Debtor cannot fulfill the obligations without the cooperation of the creditor. A creditor will thus be in mora when he or she unjustly delays or refuses to perform what is that which is due and has been intended by the debtor. Both mora creditoris and mora cannot exist at the same time, and you talk about the consequences and the remedies that you can ask here. Mora creditoris. So that's the discussion on mora creditoris. Just as many items as you remember. So now what we've done is we have identified the topic, we have the rules of the topic, and then let's go to application to the facts. Now, in terms of application to the facts, what we want to do here is we want to talk about these elements here, that whatever you see, just write your observations. Just write your observations here. So here, you start by saying party Y, party X is the who is the debtor, who's the creditor here? Party X, but party X failed to transfer the property to party Y. So party X is the one who's supposed to transfer. Party Y is the one who paid the purchase price. So party Y is the debtor, and party X is the creditor. Okay, that's we're just establishing that from the beginning, and then we go through the requirements of the contract. We say according to the scenario, there is no indication that the contract contained any invalid elements. That is, a proper offer was made and accepted. Thus, we can assume that a valid contract had been created. We're just talking about what we are seeing. It's just observations of what you see in the thing, and that's how you apply. You apply your observations, what you're observing to the question. Okay, and then what's the next one? So what's the next criteria after here? Who performed? The defendant failed to perform. Party X failed to transfer the property. And remember, that means he failed to perform on his part as the main. He failed to perform on his part as the creditor, meaning it's a mora creditores issue. Okay, so the party failed to perform, and what's the last one? The aggrieved party performed. And the final requirement of breach is also reached since the party Y paid the 100,000. Since party Y paid the 100,000, therefore there was a breach of contract. And then when you are doing this breach of contract, you can also go through some of the creditors requirements and say the obligation to make performance was a valid contract that existed. It's also covered. Cooperation of the creditor. There is no indication of any of these things, but you can talk about fault and say the party X is aware that they need to perform, and thus party X is aware that they need to perform, and thus they are having fault. So most of the requirements, if not all of them, are met in this scenario, and then we go to conclusion. So conclusion. Now remember, the whole point of contract law is checking your understanding of whether the contract is void, valid, and whatever. Void, voidable, or valid. So you have to always start with that in your conclusion. Was the contract valid? No, don't give a question. The contract was a valid contract. And you know what happens with a valid contract? A valid contract is enforceable, is legally enforceable. A valid contract is legally enforceable, and therefore one can claim restoration or other remedies. So the remedies I would advise party Y to claim is specific performance, since party Y wants the specific performance, since party Y wants